Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I am David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here tonight with Bruce McCurdy. Hey, Bruce.
Hey David, how you doing tonight?
A lot better than after the Oilers' last game. That stinker lost to the Vancouver Canucks. Whew. That's
Yeah,
that stench kind of. I think it was a discussed at many a Christmas gathering and colored all conversations about the Oilers was that loss to the Flames, or excuse me, loss to the Canucks. But they won tonight. They redeemed themselves with a 2-1 victory over the Calgary Flames. They rubber match of the Battle of Alberta. And Bruce, it was a rare game where the Oilers had a lead in the third period and they got out of it with the same lead. Just and I had a feeling they were going to do it, honestly, as I was watching the game unfold. They seemed like they were playing better defensive hockey and had made up their minds they weren't going to let it happen again. Now, it almost did happen again with 6 seconds left when the Flames hit the post. But it didn't happen.
rang the iron.
It
Yeah.
did not happen. They got out of it with a 2-1 win. So, how are you doing?
Oh, pretty happy. I mean, after that and holding on down the stretch, man, that was sure a great look that Calgary got in the dying seconds there, and um, uh, just got shot through traffic right off the post by Oiler killer Michael Backlund, and fortunately, it hit the post and stayed out, and by that narrow margin, the Oilers actually hung on and won a game by a goal. And a big game it was. So I'm happy with the win for the flow of play in that game for Edmonton to come out and top two games in Calgary. Actually, now like that. So
Well, the grade A shots are initial calculation 14 for the Flames, grade A shots, 12 for the Oilers. 6-5 alarm shots for the Flames, 5 for the Oilers. So the Calgary Flames had the better, slightly better of the really great chances this game. Of note is a lot of those flame shots, including that last one with 6 seconds left, went off the post. So very nice. Very, very nice. Okay, Bruce, this is our two good things, two bad things, and two numbers podcast. What is your good thing?
yeah, I'm not going to overthink it, and I'll go with the play of Stuart Skinner between the pipes for Edmonton tonight. Calgary killer Stuart Skinner. I'm going to start referring to him the way his career is shaping up, and he made. Uh, he was. I just thought rock solid in the pipes. Had little chance on the one Calgary goal, which was uh, a a, uh, a rebound, and I didn't think it was his fault the rebound, and Oilers killer Michael Backlund was the wrong guy to get it. A lot of guys would have missed that one, but I was pretty sure Backlund would make any mistake, and he didn't. And that 1-0 lead looked pretty good, pretty big the way Jakob Markstrom was playing in the Calgary net. And in truth, Edmonton couldn't afford to give up much, and they could afford to give up a whole lot of shots. And Skinner just soaked up the rubber tonight, 47 shots, 46 of which he stopped. And of course, that doesn't count the two or three posts that the post stopped, but any goalie will tell you that's part of the gear. You know, he just has to stop what's inside of the post, and everything else is a missed shot, right?
I
So,
I I liked his game burst too. I
yeah.
thought I bumped his mark up from based on your description from a 7 to an 8 because
Oh,
he
jeez.
he didn't
I would hope so.
he didn't he was saved by the post a lot, Bruce. So a lot of the 5 alarm shots, probably half of the Flames' best shots went off the post. So according to our calculations, the 5 alarm shots, those went off the post. So he got some good luck there, and he a lot of what I liked about Skinner in this game was I didn't think he was tested a lot by really super dangerous shots by the Flames, but in the third period there was lots of difficult moments, lots of difficult outside shots, hard outside shots, um, difficult plays that he had to make, and he made them all really easily. He looked super confident as the third period went along, and I think that helped his team to some extent. So I didn't think he had the reason I'm not like jumping out of my skin saying, "Oh, that was like the game of the year was because I didn't think he faced a lot of outside shots in those 46, 47 shots. And the Oilers did a good job of keeping it to the outside, generally speaking. Although 14 grade A shots translates into, 3 or 4 goals, normally speaking. And the good thing is those goals didn't go in. They hit the post this time. So very nice. Very, very nice.
Well, according to Natural Stat Trick, they had the expected goals in all situations at 4.5 for Calgary and 2.1 for Edmonton, which Edmonton got 2. So they got what was expected. 4.5 for Calgary, and they got 1. That's 3.5 goals saved above expected for Skinner in this game. And I mean, you can split hairs, but geez, 46 saves, 1 goal. And to me, I would have frankly graded him a 9 on that game. Like, I thought he was outstanding. And the main reason Edmonton won the game, frankly. And they checked hard. They didn't give Calgary much, but he just built a wall in front of his net. And officially only 2 posts though, to Foley, and then of course the one everybody heard off of Backlund's stick at the end. And those were the only ones in the play-by-play. So
that might have been it.
Anyway.
2 pretty big shots though. Like
it was a rocket by Toffoli as well, but too bad. Posts happen. Anyway, there was one other time I heard the post and Skinner had completely taken away all of the net. Like, he completely jammed the post up from the inside, and the shot was either going to hit Skinner or it was going to hit the post. There was nothing else, and it happened to hit the post, and they didn't even count that one. So
they called that it was a post. I remember that one too. It's kind of an outside shot that Richie I think shot, and it hit the post, but it wasn't that dangerous a shot.
No, and Skinner had it completely covered, but like I say, you can hear it hit the post, but it wasn't because of luck. It was because he had everything else covered.
Yeah. I suspect a lot of people would agree with you, Bruce. Give him a 9. I'm a little bit more, and I agreed. Like, our expected goals were 4 for the Flames, and he only let in 1. So that's it. That's a darn good game.
Second game all year, David, that the Oilers have held the opponents to under 2 goals. They beat St. Louis 3-1 in St. Louis in late October, and it was 2-1 with an empty netter late. And they and that was a goaltending duel between Skinner and what's his name in the net there? I keep thinking Craig Billington, but it's Jordan Bennington. That's in net for Jordan, whichever those guys. Anyway, St. Louis goalies. It's a really feisty one. He had a great game against Edmonton, and Skinner matched him save for save, and then made one more for good measure. And really, that's how I kind of saw tonight's game. And Markstrom made a lot of good saves, but I mean, by the shot counts, Calgary had by far. I mean, 24-4, Calgary outshot Edmonton in the third period. 24-4, and Edmonton got the only goal. Take that 10 days out of 10.
Very nice. I mean, the play of the Oilers, I mean, they did hang on there, but man, you do get the sense that the other team's close to scoring at all times. The more I watch this team, Bruce, the more I think they really do need one more seasoned defenseman. We've talked about this plenty in the kind of the Adam Larson, Chris Russell mode. Mm-hmm. Doesn't have to be a player who would be as costly as Adam Larson. I mean, if you could get someone who could perform like Chris Russell did for the Oilers, I would love that. I think that's what they need is just a real super defensive defenseman who can help them kill some penalties, and that would round out this group of players. My good thing, Bruce, was Connor McDavid's goal. And he had a McDavid, leading up to this, he had a pretty quiet first period. Mm-hmm. Not a lot happened for him until right near the end of it. He burst up the ice after a Flames miscue, and he set up Jesse Puljujärvi in the slot for a great shot. It would have been so fantastic if Puljujärvi had scored that goal. I mean, if there's a guy, Jesse Puljujärvi, I thought he had a pretty decent game. Like, he didn't he wasn't involved in a lot of grade A shots. I think just that one really, but he really does fill in well defensively. And people may think, oh, that's damning with faint praise. But when you're out there with McDavid and Hyman, it really does free those two guys up to play down low in the offensive zone. They can just go for it on the attack because they know Jesse Puljujärvi's going to be back covering for them. Anyway, I thought that happened that game. McDavid was dangerous on the power play. In the second period, he set up Draisaitl for the executioner shot by grabbing the puck as it was going to get cleared and then passing it over. He came charging right down the slot, and that was an amazing save by Markstrom. And then he did it again about 30 seconds later when Nugent Hopkins set up Draisaitl for a second harpoon from his favorite spot. And that's, those shots go in about 40% of the time, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And Markstrom stopped them both. Anyway, so McDavid, he was coming on as the game went along, and he early in the third period he set up Hyman. Hyman had all the time in the world after McDavid put the puck back to him on a drop pass, and Hyman couldn't beat Markstrom. But then McDavid did it himself, and this was must have been on the power play because it's Hyman and Draisaitl. So Hyman makes a great play to start off the virtuous cycle. He wins the puck on the boards, puck protects it, puts it to Draisaitl, who does the right thing, get it on Connor McDavid's stick. And McDavid's shot was absolutely brilliant. He's moving across kind of from left to right, I guess, left to right across my screen, across the ice. And he puts the puck in the opposite of the direction of the way that he's moving. And he puts the puck right off the post. And he puts the puck to what is now seen as Jacob Markstrom's weak spot, low to the glove side. Now, I think it was such a great shot that it really didn't take advantage of that so-called weak spot with Markstrom, but he has let in a lot of goals just in that kind of area to the Oilers, and McDavid put it right there, and he beat Markstrom. It was an absolutely fantastic goal by Connor McDavid.
Sounded exactly like McDavid's winning goal in overtime in the playoffs, which was on a similar kind of play where he burst into the slot, took a pass from Draisaitl and burst into the slot. And that time he shot a little bit quicker, but it was the same thing, glove side, post and in, series over. And tonight he had to make Elias Lindholm was there. So McDavid didn't shoot from the same spot. He made one extra or two extra touches of the puck to go around Lindholm and change the angle, shoot a little bit more from the left, and then he rang it again right off that glove side post and in. And just 13 seconds into the power play, the power play didn't last long. And Andrew Mangiapane took a dumb penalty in Edmonton territory. Complaining to the referee, and I was saying, sit down and eat your bread.
That was such a stupid.
He didn't sit down for long, and then the next thing they show him on the bench, clearly answering Brian Sutter's query about what he thought he was doing in the offensive zone to take a penalty like that. They didn't show Sutter, but he was looking around behind his head and clearly taking some heat from above, and that was kind of fun to watch.
Sutter was wishing that he was back on the farm and he had a shovel full of manure that he could have thrown on Mangiapane. That was such a terrible penalty that he took. I mean, it was he grabbed him twice. And then he's surprised he gets a penalty. He's such a knothead. Like that was right out of the Benoit Pouliot playbook.
Mm-hmm.
I
like Mangiapane. I have him in my draft team, but he annoys me. Most Flames annoy me when they're playing the Oilers. So
yeah,
it's always a bit of fun when something goes sideways for one of them.
He is a high skill hockey player. I would have had McDavid overall as my good thing in the game, and I did give him an 8. But man, I know it's you want to have your best players on the ice when the game's being decided in the end, but. It was Connor McDavid's man who moved into the slot, took the pass from the corner through CC, and it was Backlund who McDavid should have been on for that with 6 seconds to go. And I just, those guys, they have such incredible offensive instincts, but they're not always absolutely tuned in on defense. And sometimes I wonder if just having maybe having with 20 seconds left, like Derek Ryan or Nugent Hopkins. Um, I guess I was going to say someone who kills penalties, but of course now McDavid kills penalties. But just someone who's like that's all that's their bread and butter. That's all they really think about and really do well is to kill off the rest of the game. Nonetheless, it often works out for the Oilers having McDavid out there at the end. So I'm not gonna make too much of it, but I did note that he would have been the culprit if that puck had gone in.
Well, he had one shot attempt in the entire game. Not just one shot, one attempt, and that was the game-winning goal. So he
Really? Is that all?
really picked his spot. He had 2 giveaways, and he had 3 blocked shots. So he blocked 3 times as many shots as he took himself. So that's a very odd line from number 97. But another goal and another, being a scoring hero in another game, that's nothing new. But it wasn't his conventional 8. Let's put it that way.
And I'm not even saying McDavid isn't a good defensive player. I mean, he plays tough competition, and he doesn't get eaten alive. I think he's a solid. He's an okay to good defensive center against tough competition, which is really good in the NHL. Like if you can say that about a player, they're getting their job done. So I think generally speaking, he's pretty solid on defense. But maybe they would. I don't know. They don't have Bob Gainey and Doug Jarvis to throw out there, so maybe Connor McDavid's just as well. All right, Bruce, what is your bad thing?
David, I'm gonna volley that one back to you because I don't want to step on your toes. You go first, and then I'll follow with something different.
Because I think you're probably going to go with the goal itself. I'm going to go with Matthias Janmark. He was the only player on the Oilers I gave a 4 to, and he just didn't get a ton done swell on the attack. In fact, he missed. They were going in, and he decided to pass it to Draisaitl with the empty net, and he missed the pass. He couldn't execute the pass, and would have iced the game right there. Right, so that's a fairly key mistake in and of itself. But I didn't like his play, and I'm not going to get into the whole sequence of pain on the Calgary goal. But I really didn't like his play because what was going on there? The Flames were running the Oilers show on that shift. They had extended pressure. They were outworking the Oilers at every turn, and the Oilers were not working hard enough. They weren't digging in quite hard enough. They were containing the Flames, but they weren't getting the job done. And the real pain starts with the pass out from behind the net into the slot. And that was Matthias Janmark who allowed that pass. He was giving too much gap. He failed to get stick on puck, and that pass went right into the slot area. Backhand shot, rebound, and in the net on a 5-alarm shot that Skinner had no chance on, as you suggest. So it was a small mistake, but it was a pretty consequential one. He also, late in the game, he made a bad read on, and this is the other reason I gave him a failing grade, because this is late in the game. He makes a bad read and it leads to a 2-on-1. He was covering for the defenseman at the point, and he decides to bite in on the play because he thinks he can get it, as forwards do, and 2-on-1. Now they didn't get a shot out of that 2-on-1 because they muffed it up essentially, but that was on Janmark as well. So 2 key mistakes at key moments in the game, and there wasn't a lot on the positive side of the ledger, although I like the player actually quite a lot. This wasn't his best game, I didn't think.
Yeah, well, his Corsi says that while he was on the ice at even strength, which was 13 minutes, Edmonton attempted 2 shots and Calgary attempted 24. So that tells us who had the puck and what end of the ice it was in. Yes. And it wasn't Janmark or Janmark's team that had the possession or the position. Let's put it that way. And that whole line was struggling. I mean, Klim Kostin was +2, -20 in the same category. And I mean, ooh. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of mushy middle in Corsi, and they're not all created equal. But when they're all at one end, then either you're dominating or getting dominated. There's really almost no other way.
Nuge must have had a bad Corsi number as well, then I'm guessing, because he's the center on that line.
Yeah, he was slightly better at +4, -19, but still very one-sided.
Yeah, I like Nuge's game, but And Costin, I thought he had a couple of really good moments with the puck in his own zone where he won the puck on the boards, puck protected, and got the puck out. So he didn't like they. I didn't see him making any really obvious mistakes, or well, maybe did Nuge. I can't remember. Yeah, we got well on the goal against Nuge was in the red light zone. Bruce, what's your bad thing?
Yeah, I want to just go with one sequence from Brett Kulak, a guy I singled out in a recent podcast for his wonderful skating. So I mostly like the player, but every once in a while you see times when he just looks lost out there. And this was a play late in the first period, and the puck was chipped around the boards and back to him at the point, which was an Oilers offensive zone possession. And Kulak, first of all, he couldn't handle the puck at the blue line, and then he couldn't keep it in. And once he had to back out of the zone, uh, his play there is to just dump it somewhere into a corner so that his other teammates can touch up and at least establish defensive position. But he just whacked it right up the middle. He just kind of panicked trying to keep it in when it was too late. And he put it right on the stick of a Flame in the middle of the zone on a delayed offside, and the jailbreak was on. And Calgary then came through the center zone. There was what I saw is about a 60-40 puck that if Kulak would have just stepped up, he would have stopped the rush right there. But he sort of belatedly decided to back away from it. And then the puck came over the Edmonton blue line, and he was just kind of passive. Fogle, I think, also got beat on this play on the actual shot by Rasmus Anderson, but it was all caused by, just a puck handling mistake, then a turnover, then a passive play in the neutral zone, and then so it was just one sequence where the same Oiler made multiple small mistakes that added up to become a great scoring chance for Calgary. And I just thought it was a kind of an instructional sequence, not to crap on Kulak overly, but it was just one play where everything went wrong for the guy, and it wound up going from an Edmonton possession to a Calgary scoring chance from the slot. Luckily, not a goal because Skinner had the answer for it. So a play that will quickly be forgotten by most.
It's interesting. Kulak has generally escaped a lot of criticism this year for his defensive play. I mean, Nurse has been a magnet for criticism. Evan Bouchard has been a magnet for criticism. But Kulak has made a higher rate of major mistakes on grade A shots against than either of them. And he's not playing the same level of competition that Nurse is. So, and I would say that play, Bruce, is actually kind of indicative of the kind of mistake that he makes. He's often a bit too passive, and he loses battles for shots. He's there, but he's not shutting that guy down. And he's not an overly aggressive player. He's not a nasty player. He's an excellent skater who can move the puck, and is fundamentally sound on defense, and that he's usually in the right spot, but he's not winning the battle enough. He's losing too many of these battles. And for instance, tonight he made 3 major mistakes on grade A shots against Tyson Barrie. We didn't have him down for 1. So they've been partners, and Barrie is one of the best defenders when it comes to limiting grade A shots against. Tyson Barrie's been strong defensively for 2.5 months now. He's really been getting the job done, but you just can't say the same about Kulak. And it's he still may come around. He's been asked to do a little bit more this year, and he's been struggling to get it done. And it's the main reason that people expected Kulak to step up into the top 4. It hasn't happened. That's why people again and again and again you're hearing, oh, the Oilers need a tough defensive defenseman. Oh, the Oilers need another left shot demon in the top 4. Well, they're talking about Kulak's failure to seize that role. And I like the player too. I think he's a really solid third pairing defenseman, and I thought he had a good chance of stepping up. And I'm still not saying that can't happen, but I think he does need to think about his battle level and ramp it up a bit. And that play exemplifies it.
Yeah, I don't hate his battle level, but there are times and instantaneous decisions and so on that go wrong. Like I do think he gets in there. He got into one battle well after the whistle tonight, and I didn't mind that at all. You got to stand up for yourself out there, and there was a little bit of that, and it was just as I said early in the game to my wife, this is, after all, the Battle of Alberta, and there's going to be things going on out there. And of course, he's a former Flame, so he's sort of a little extra motivated by these games, I would imagine. Not that that would be 1% kind of thing, but I just in a game where Edmonton allows only one goal for the first time in 29 games. There's small things to criticize, but really nothing major to sort of really dump all over the team, because they didn't do anything really major wrong tonight, I guess, short of that play with 5 seconds left.
Yeah. Bruce, what is your numero?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Oilers goaltending splits against the Flames this year. This is actually quite humorous. Jack Campbell got the start in the first game, and he lasted 10 minutes and 18 seconds, during which he allowed 4 goals on 11 shots. Now, 11 shots in 10 minutes is not a good look for the team as a whole, but he didn't stop many of them. And I heard some people today saying they would start Campbell tonight, and I was looking at these stats this morning, and I'm sort of just updating them now. Jack Campbell on the season against Calgary, just those 10 minutes, a 23.30 goals against average, and a .636 save percentage, both absolutely comically bad numbers. Now, on the other hand, you have Stuart Skinner, who played 168 minutes against Calgary this year, allowed 3 goals, which is to say fewer than Campbell gave in 10 minutes. He has a 1.07 goals against average, a .975 save percentage, allowing just 3 goals on 120 shots. So quite the contrast. And if you want to make the contrast between Skinner and Campbell this year, which has been, significant, there is no more, I don't think I've ever seen a more extreme example of splits against a common opponent than these two. Just stunningly different.
Who was saying you should start Jack? I'm still reeling, Bruce. Who was saying that? Like, come on.
To start the second half, you got to go back to your start. It was all the same rationale, except for, I've heard it about 4 times earlier this season, and each time it turned out to be wrong, that he wasn't ready. And I'm not sure when he's going to be ready, but tonight the decision was Skinner all the way. And then the next 2 games back to back, by all means, Jack Campbell starts one of those games, and you have to figure out which one it is. And Skinner gets the other one, but Skinner's dominant. I mean, this is a 3-2 win in Calgary with 40 saves, and a 2-1 win in Calgary with 46 saves. And in the other game, he came in with a hopeless cause, down 4-1, 10 minutes in, and he made 31 out of 31 saves, and the Oilers lost 4-3. He's been phenomenal against the Flames.
When you go with Jack Campbell is when he earns it or Stuart Skinner loses it. One of those 2 things has to happen. Maybe if Jack Campbell started to really play well.
Oh, he will. I hope.
Yeah, I hope he will too, Bruce. He's been better, but even then, it's always, there's a huge amount of nervousness with Jack Campbell in the net still. I mean, that's the truth.
I'm nervous watching him.
I'm nervous.
I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I'm sure nervous. He has looked better though. He's been better, but he's got to get good. He's got to have like Stuart Skinner has just, when he's in the net, I'm just thinking he's just not going to let in a crappy goal. And usually he doesn't, right? Like he has now and then. There was the one against Vancouver that hit him in the shoulder, went high in the net and bounced in the net. So he has had his moments too. But and I think his save percentage overall is pretty much just league average. It's not like he's not like he's eating up the NHL anymore.
He's 20th out of 50 going into tonight's game. Well, he will have moved up a few spots with that performance.
So an okay to good goalie in the NHL. But that's been really eye-opening because the other goalie has been one of the worst goalies in the NHL this year, who's played any amount of time. So hopefully Jack Campbell will get it together. But anyway,
he's going to have to do it by playing 1 game a week for a while, and either Skinner loses it, or Campbell plays 1 game a week and he plays a real good game like 3 weeks in a row, and then the next week maybe he gets 2 games. And if he keeps it going, then But he's kind of in the spot that Koskinen spent a lot of time in the last couple of years.
Yeah. And they're both signed to contracts now. So
Mhm.
that's great. Like you don't have to worry about playing Stuart Skinner. He could win you the Stanley Cup this year, and you don't have to pay him for it for 3 years from now. So excellent that he's got the contract. That was a great move by Kent Holland, locking Stuart Skinner up at that amount of money, I think. And you just go with the best goalie. They're both signed long term in the
Mhm.
NHL. Three more years for Skinner and 4 more after this for Campbell. So it's a battle, and we'll see who wins. And I have no just whoever plays better should be getting the starts.
Yeah, well, so
Bruce
far you've got one great move by Holland, and the other move does not look great at all. And
does
obviously, there's a
not.
lot of time to go, and the manager will be judged in the fullness of time by the overall performance. But Campbell's shaky start here, which is now 3 months in, has been out and out unnerving when you consider the investment in term and cap hit they made on him. It's not an easy position to fix if you got a bad contract in there.
Yeah, I like Stuart Skinner in that. He reminds me of one of those kind of calm but rough and tumble kind of guys. Like he could be one of the cowboys on Yellowstone. I don't know if you've ever seen that show, but all right. My number, Bruce, is seventh. Tyson Barrie is now tied for seventh overall in scoring for the NHL defenseman. So he now has 28 points in 36 games. And
Nice.
he's tied with Quinn Hughes. He's just behind. Actually, he's tied for. I got it wrong. He's tied for sixth. Excuse me, sixth with Dougie Hamilton and Quinn Hughes. Both have 28, as does Tyson Barrie, unless Hughes or Hamilton have scored in the meantime, because the NHL doesn't update their stats very fast. So tied for sixth, and the only people ahead of him are Eric Carlson, Josh Morrissey, Rasmus Dahlin, Adam Fox, and Cale Makar. So Tyson Barrie is having his, I think it's probably undeniably, undoubtedly his best season in the NHL. He's a key member of what's could shape up to be the best power play in recorded power play history in the NHL, which is only since 1977. So, but he's a key player on that power play. He's toned down his risk taking at even strength and has become a at least okay, and I think good even strength player defensively. Good because when he gets the puck, he moves it. He can still lose battles in his own zone and lose battles in the slot, and he's not the biggest guy out there or the toughest or the roughest, but he's sound defensively
He's
fundamentally.
he's a
And
gamer, I think.
yeah, he
He
battles
doesn't
hard.
quit.
No, I don't mind him on defense at all. I think he's become a safe player, and I've come a long way a long way in that regard. I did not like his defensive decision making some time ago, and I felt bad because I was constantly bringing it up how he was making mistakes on 2-on-1s to lead to 2-on-1 breaks for the other team. But it hardly ever happens anymore. I just really admire the player. He's a bargain player. He's definitely a bargain player at 4.5 million a year. He's got
That's
another
a
year.
minority opinion, David.
I know
I'm
it
I'm not
is.
saying I don't disagree with you, but a whole lot of people in cult of hockey listener land, and thanks for listening, everyone. Will maybe have a contrary opinion, but he's so mobile. There was one sequence in the first period, I absolutely loved it, where the Oilers had the puck in the Calgary zone and just cycling along the wall, and Tyson Barrie came all the way up along the boards beyond the hash marks, like sort of quarter of the way from the hash marks to the icing line to keep the puck in. And they kept the cycle alive. And about 8 seconds later, it went over on the other wing. And Brett Kulak came in from the other point and did the exact same thing, kept the puck alive again. And both times the forwards sort of revolved around to cover. So that the D man, by going deep like that, it wasn't like if he misses it's a 2-on-1. It was like the team's positioning was such that it frees the defenseman. Oftentimes, he's got the best angle at the puck. And I'll say this about Tyson Barrie: he is very, very good on the pinch, on the keep-ins, and on the deep pinches to keep possessions along the wall. And they're just small plays, and they generally don't get a lot of credit. But I'm going to give him some here.
Well, part of the reason he may be not making as many mistakes on the pinch is because Woodcroft has a better system for covering. And frankly, Bruce, if your defensemen aren't absolute hammers down the boards in the offensive zone, pinching aggressively right to the goal line, you're getting it wrong in the NHL, in the modern NHL. You've got to do that. And what you have to do is train the forwards, who
Yes.
might not be used to it, to cover for them. And the Oilers, I think, are doing a better job of it when they're playing well. Like, it's not a team that gives up a lot of 2-on-1s. I don't think you'd have to have the statistics of that to know for sure, and you'd have to be able to compare it to other teams. So I can't say this for sure, but compared to Tippett's teams, especially at the end, they don't give up a lot of 2-on-1s. It was a hallmark of the Tippett team when it started to come apart at the end. They were just giving up odd man rushes like crazy. Anyway, they probably are doing a better job. I mean, for instance, I see Puljujärvi always covering, and other players are covering regularly. So that's great. That's how you win hockey games, is by pinching hard down the wall, keep the puck in, keep that pressure on, and cover for the guy as he's doing it. Because the defenseman's in the best position to read that
Yes.
play. He sees it all unfolding before any
Sees the
other
puck
player
the
on the
whole way.
ice. He's facing the right direction. He's doesn't have any other responsibility because he's the furthest from the play at that point, because it's usually on the other side and it's coming around the boards. And if
Right.
he can pinch in, man, that is a great play in hockey. And yeah, Tyson Barrie does execute it well. Bruce, there may well, it's not surprising to hear other people would disagree with me on Tyson Barrie. There's no more position that's disagreed upon in terms of performance than defenseman. And it's because there's not very good stats to measure defensive play. You're doing it by just by watching the game, and some people rely on this statistic or that statistic, which I think are quite misleading when it comes to the defenseman, and which is why I think I think there's such wonky positions that people take on defensemen that are just way out there, because they're relying on statistical analysis that's not very sound when it comes to measuring defensive play. I don't know what's Barry's numbers are in terms of like Corsi percentage or Fenwick or those, because I don't pay any attention to those stats anymore. But from what I'm seeing, Bruce, this is a guy who has cut down considerably on the mistakes he makes on grade A shots. Who's making good decisions when he gets the puck, better decisions when he gets the puck than any other Oilers defenseman on the team right now that Duncan Keith is gone, and advancing the puck well, as you say, pinching well. I like the player a lot. And I was talking about the need to trade him this summer for various reasons, just because I thought other teams would value him more than the Oilers were able to value him, because the Oilers needed cap space, and they didn't have any, and they had Evan Bouchard in the wings. Turns out that the cap space dilemma was solved with Smith and Keith retiring. I wasn't expecting that to happen, and they were able to keep Tyson Barrie, and suddenly, and with Keith going, it made a lot of sense to hang on to Tyson Barrie, because he's that same kind of player in some ways. He's not the player that Duncan Keith ever was, but he's in the same mold, smaller. Well, Keith wasn't a huge defenseman, just quick defenseman who can really move the puck. And now that Barry's making better decisions, he's getting closer to that level of player. He's not there yet. He probably never will be, but he's a player you can win with. He scored some big goals, made some big plays in the playoffs, Bruce.
Huge goal in Game 6 in
Yeah,
LA.
yeah,
Huge goal in Game 6.
yeah. So count
Oh,
me as president right now, I guess, president of the Tyson Barrie fan club tonight at
well,
least.
his shot metrics. I like to see the slope of these. Sometimes the slope tells you what's going on. 48% with Corsi, 49% with shots, uh, a little over 50% with scoring chances, 50, almost 54% in high danger scoring chances, and 55% in goals. So the volume of shots isn't necessarily there, but as the categories get more and more dangerous, his numbers keep going up, and that's a tell as far as I'm concerned.
It's the old Chris Russell slope, right? Like
Yes.
that's what we. Now the
Yep.
problem that I have with it, one of the issues I have
But
with it
from
is
a higher base.
when you go with the percentage, the overall percentage, like you're not breaking out his defensive play specifically
Right.
and his offensive play specifically. And this is one of the
Well,
issues when
you
these
can,
numbers
but
are
they
stated. You
tend to
can,
combine them.
Yeah, they tend to combine them. I wouldn't. If I was going to use those numbers, I would break them out and look at what's he
I
giving
tend to
up in
do
his
that.
end and what's he well there you go, Bruce. And you've always got a
Shots
good
against per
head. Yeah,
60.
you've got
That's,
yeah. I
anyway.
think that's the way to use the way to use those numbers if you're going to use them. Anyway, Barry, I think is he's at least earning his pay, Bruce. I would like he is tied for sixth in NHL scoring. Now, a lot of people say, "Oh, it's just second assists on the power play," but I'm not seeing a lot of cheap second assists for Tyson Barrie. If I'm completely honest, I'm seeing a player who's making some really, really good passes, keeping the puck in consistently. A solid, like they put the puck back to him fast and hard often, and he
They
keeps
know
it.
where he's going to be because he always goes right behind the puck. And
Yeah,
so whoever has the puck knows they can whip it straight back. As long as he's had a bit of time to get over there, he shadows the puck. And wherever the puck is, and he goes one blue line to the other. And he's right behind the puck all the time. That's why they can make all these blind passes to the guy because they know that he's going to be there. And then he'll make a pass generally to the open guy on the other side. It looks like a simple play. Well, getting the puck to an open, well, it can be any of Leon, Connor, or Nuge on the power play. Good things can quickly develop from that situation.
and the
So,
pass is fast, hard, and right on the stick of the guy he's trying to
typically,
pass to.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
typically. So yeah.
I got one other number on Tyson Barrie since we're there. He's now tied for 106th in the NHL for goals ever scored by a defenseman with 100, as the darts announcers like to say, 100. And he got his 100th goal tonight, moving into a tie for 106th with Ryan Suter, unless he scored tonight. And it took Suter 600 more games than it took Barrie to get to 100. And the great Alan Stanley, a personal favorite of mine from the 1960s Maple Leafs. So when I was a kid, I used to say, Alan Stanley is so great, he's got 2 cups named after him. And he moved out of a 6-way tie. The guys with 99, some pretty good guys here. Dennis Weidman, Sammy Salo, Zarly Zalapsky, Phil Russell, great Edmonton Oil King, and the great Edmonton Oiler, Charlie Huddy, that all ended their careers with 99 goals. Poor buggers. And so he got that nice milestone goal tonight. And when the Oilers really needed it, like just 3 or 4 minutes after Calgary opened the scoring, that was big to get back and
Oh
stabilize
yeah.
the game. Like I had visions of that game actually being 1-0, the way Markstrom seemed to be setting up, and so anyway.
Well, a very interesting night, Bruce. We learned something about you that you watch darts on TV.
I used to watch snooker. I used to watch darts. I used to watch all these sort of
Oh
fringe
God.
sports that not all the time, but I'd turn it on and let it go. Whereas nowadays they just show you highlights of the month, bloopers of the month, highlights of the month, bloopers of the month, over and over and
Yeah,
over
yeah,
again,
yeah.
rather than ever showing you content of an actual sporting competition.
People's attention spans has gone down. I used to watch is it snooker or snooker? I used to watch that too because
Snooker to
there
the
wasn't a lot
to
on
the
TV.
educated.
Was it Cliff Thorburn? Was he the great
Yes, he was a
Canadian
Canadian. Yeah,
snooker
yeah,
player? There you go.
yeah.
All right, Bruce. Well, let's leave it there for tonight.
We're well off the beaten path now. We
Okay.
got back
Kind of,
to mandatory sports references from the 1960s with Alan Stanley. So
that was a good one though. The 2 cups named after the height of wit, the 1960s. All
the Allen
right.
Cup was a big deal at
I
that
know it
time
was.
too. It was the big one for amateur hockey, and the Stanley was the big one for pros. So I really liked his name. I thought it was
Yeah.
when I was a kid. I thought, what a great name. So
Is the Allen Cup still even contested?
yes, you bet. Yeah,
That's amazing. That's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah. There's a couple teams in Alberta that are still going after it, and every once in a while you hear of
Oh,
somebody making a run.
well, the last 3 years it's been canceled,
Oh,
unfortunately.
okay. Yeah, well,
But
that's
they'll
like the
have it going
Spengler
on
Cup.
this.
Yeah.
The last winner of the Allen Cup was the Lacombe Generals
Hmm.
of Alberta, and they beat the Innisfail Eagles.
Wow.
And
Too.
no
Okay.
surprise to see that region of the country winning some Allen Cups. Man, they love their hockey in Central Alberta, and there's some fierce
Mhm.
teams, in minor hockey, and I'm sure in senior hockey. Bruce, thanks for talking tonight.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Thanks for winning, Edmonton.
Yeah, we needed that.
Did we
And in the
ever?
meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult hockey podcast.